as the standard bearer for the AFC East, Buffalo is a very wobbly team. They're not very dominant. I think the Dolphins are better.
All right, you're a homer.
They would have won with Tua Sunday.
You're
without question.
Again, you think they're better. They've lost by 2, 3-3, and won all their other games. You think the Dolphins are better. Okay, very good.
Yeah, I do.
But Buffalo...
They were better Sunday.
Buffalo beat Miami by 3, and the Dolphins beat them by 3, and then they just beat them again by 3 at the weekend with the Dolphins' third-string quarterback. I think the Dolphins have a right to lay a claim to being on the same level as Buffalo.
Do you think that was sleepwalking, though?
This is interesting
No,
because I
don't
heard
do that.
at the end of that game, Romo and Nance were talking about their division rivals. They know each other. Of course, this game's close, which isn't what they were saying at 21-0 before a reversed call made it 17-0, and then the Dolphins are field goaling their way in, and then Josh Allen is Josh Allening because he's reckless. He's an unbelievably talented quarterback who is super reckless. I thought they'd coached it out of him. They haven't, but they win anyway. Their point differential is the best in the league, I think, and maybe San Francisco is better now, but they crush and they never lose big. Like, I understand not liking them, but they've been unbelievably great this season, even with a great many injuries. I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the things that happened in that game because, Billy, you're now you're rooting against the Bills because the thing that I took away from Josh Allen and Wilkins is, good God, how is Josh Allen as strong as Wilkins? Like, how are they pushing each other and it's not Josh Allen's going flying to the 50-yard line?
He fell on the ground trying to push him. He's a punk.
You had Josh Allen on your fantasy team, right?
Yeah, he was my quarterback.
Yeah, that was the seeds of everything. Most people would be all right with him if he was their fantasy quarterback, but there were, I guess, a couple of games that.
Oh no, I mean I'm fine with him on fantasy, but I separate the fantasy me
from
that
reality.
Exactly
from the beardless man.
Exactly right. Stupid face.
Yeah. Go ahead. You and Cody, go ahead. Be those guys today. You lost to the Bills. You had your season ended. But Homer Cody, who had them going to the Super Bowl, is going to make the argument that they're better than the Bills.
You think the Bills looked good this weekend? That was a horrible performance by the Bills.
There's no way you were watching that game and at some point saying, holy shit, Skylar Thompson's about to win this game. You weren't thinking that?
Well, I will tell you something funny. At no point during that game did I think the Dolphins would win. And if right now we were sitting here and they had won, I still wouldn't think they'd win. Like, at no point during that game did I think the Dolphins are going to win this game by 3. Not when they recovered a fumble in the end zone. I'm like, the Dolphins will lose this game at the end the same way they did in November. I'm not saying that. That's 20 years, man. They haven't won a playoff game in 20 years.
You can't put that on them, man. You can't. I don't like when people do that. Take the histories of franchises.
That's fair.
And layer it on people, most of whom were not around for that.
Totally fair. But look at how they lost. It wasn't because of their third string quarterback. It's because they couldn't get the plays in.
No,
they couldn't get the plays in.
No.
That's my favorite meme from the weekend. It's a picture of the play clock. Dolphins. This is a play clock. You want to get it off before it hits 0.
And also on that last one, they did the push thing to send it back up to 25. The Dolphins had 51 seconds to get a play in, and couldn't get a play in. I actually think it had something to do with the backup quarterbacks. It seems like a very complex offense to run, and Tua has 12 months of practicing it, and they seem to get the operation right when he's in the game. When Teddy Bridgewater or Skylar Thompson have to play, that's a minimum of 2 timeouts off the board from the beginning of the game from how they run that operation. So much pre-snap movement, and the plays are complex that, from the beginning of the game, you're losing timeouts.
There was some pretty damning video that showed Mike McDaniel during that whole sequence where it looked like he genuinely was surprised that it was 4th down.
Well, he was told it was 1st down in his headset. So it was a monumental F-up on the part of the coaching staff, including McDaniel. But to say that that's why they lost the game is a bit ridiculous. It was a 4th and 1 from their own 43, I think. Even if they make it, it's a long way to the goal line. They lost because first of all, they're starting a right tackle who they promoted from the practice squad 2 days earlier. They're missing their leading running back. They're down to a third-string quarterback who is totally overmatched. We all remember how great he looked in the preseason, and we're like, wow, this guy, well, in a real game, when it matters, you know what, though? He's a rookie 7th-round pick and playing
He threw a couple of interceptions, and he was not efficient. But, man, Waddle dropped a handful of
The whole team forgot to catch.
Giant plays.
And so Tyreek.
So you're saying this, but there were throws there that if I just make guys who always catch it, you're having a different conversation about the game that he had.
Well, he was 18 for 45. Even if you factor in 4 drop passes, that's still a bad completion percentage. He was not accurate. And at one point, and I think Romo said this on the broadcast, at one point, Tyreek Hill was wide open for a touchdown pass, and he just went elsewhere and incomplete.
It wasn't at one point. It was the 4th and 6th play to Gesicki.
The final play of the game.
It was the last play, and Tyreek Hill was wide open. But it's all of it. When you say to me, did you expect the Dolphins to win? No, I didn't expect them to win.
I didn't expect them to cover when they were winning in the fourth quarter.
Right. Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, I just sort of, I mean, I'm holding on to Dolphins plus 13.5, but I'm just going like, because you can see Buffalo scoring 14 points in 3 minutes happening at any point in the game. It's always a lingering possibility.
I thought everything that started the game, it looked like it was going to be the way everyone said it was going to be. And then they settled down and they're like, no, F this. We're here to win. And I think Buffalo got smacked in the face. I'm with you guys. I'm with you, Billy. He's not good when things are going bad. Mm-hmm. They look shook. They were willing and ready to fold like laundry.
Correct.
And the lack of talent, or whatever you want to call it, at some point you are overachieving. It reaches a limit, right? It reaches a limit.
These aren't the Vikings. The Bills are not the Vikings. They're not a fraudy team that wins
fold like laundry.
But they're not the Chiefs.
They lost at home to the Vikings.
They've been set out to be this behemoth that no one can conquer the entire season. Oh, how can anyone? The Bills are just going to saunter their way into the Super Bowl. No one can compete with them, and that's not the case with this team.
I agree with Billy. They got fat early in the season off of bad teams, and really since that Chiefs game, they've seemed like they've been playing with their food, so much so that I realized, it's been since October since this team has been the team that looked worthy of that heavy favorite to come out of the AFC. You want to talk about point differential? Since Josh Allen's injury, they're wheezing in some of these games.
Wheezing.
They need Hines to return 2 kicks to get over the line against New England.
They should have lost that New England game.
No, they haven't looked good. They lost at home to the Vikings, which we all now know are frauds.
Mike, you saw the way they lost at home to the Vikings. They're fumbling on their own 1-yard line with the game won.
Right. That's part of it.
You are correct.
Chiefs don't lose like that.
That Josh Allen has been a more middling quarterback since he got injured. There's something wrong with his elbow and his stupid face. And his statistics over the second half of the season make it so the giant disparity that you had before, now it's more football when they just play games. It can be a 3-point game. But I'll say it again. In that league, salary capped, where everybody can lose any weekend, they've lost by 2, 3, and 3 and won all of their other football games.
Yeah, they were elephant in the room. We'll find out this weekend who the better team is, but it looked like they were going to be on the receiving end of a blowout in Cincinnati.
But when you guys say they haven't been dominant, I ask you, how much more dominant would you want them to be than leading the sport in point differential? You want them to look like the Niners. 10 in a row, and I think the Niners may have passed them in point differential and doing it with their third-string quarterback. But they can't because their quarterback throws interceptions, fumbles, and spends the fourth quarter of a. Think about how stupid what I'm saying is. The Dolphins were begging him to throw deep, and his average fourth quarter throw was 26.5 yards.
Right, but in the first month of the season, they beat the Rams 31-10, they beat the Titans 41-7, and they beat the Steelers 38-3. This is all before October 9th. Mm-hmm. Since that injury, they are flatly not that team, and the point differential that you're referring to does not reflect the team that they've been since then.
Yeah, their defense has been better in the first half of the season than it's been more recently.
They don't lose games big.
No, they barely lose. But granted, again, it looked like we were headed that way in Cincinnati. Just we'll find out on Sunday if Cincinnati. See,